2 days ago, a Chinese startup most people have never even heard of quietly released one artificial intelligence model into the world. And by Friday's closing bell, America's chip stocks had suffered their worst week in over a year, down more than 10%. NVIDIA briefly lost its crown as the most valuable company on Earth. One model, 1 week. Hundreds of billions of dollars gone. But here's the uncomfortable part. The people who run the world's central banks saw this coming, and they warned us in writing. So in the next 8 minutes, you'll see how the biggest companies on the planet pass the very same money in circles. You'll see why serious bankers compare this moment to 2008, and why one free model might just be the pin. Let's start with a simple question. Where is all this artificial intelligence money actually coming from? The answer is stranger than you'd think. The 5 biggest technology companies now spend roughly $700 billion every year on data centers, chips, and raw electrical power. That's nearly the size of Switzerland's entire economy, spent again every single year on giant buildings full of humming computer servers. Now, normally a company spends money, sells a product, and customers pay for the next round. That's how business has always worked. But here, a huge share of that money never leaves the room. It moves in a circle between the same few giants. Here's how it works. A cloud giant invests billions into an artificial intelligence lab. The lab rents computing power from that giant. The giant books that as revenue. Revenue looks like booming demand, and booming demand justifies an even bigger investment. And around it goes. Google and Anthropic have this arrangement. Microsoft and OpenAI have it too. Amazon runs its own version. Even the chip makers joined in. AMD gave its biggest customers the right to buy 10% for almost nothing. Analysts have a name for this: circular financing. And the question it quietly hides is simple. How much of this demand is real? It matters because big tech's $20 trillion valuation rests on exactly one assumption. The demand is real. Now enter the referee. In Basel, Switzerland sits the Bank for International Settlements. Think of it as the central bank for the world's own central banks. This institution does not do hype. Its annual report is usually about as thrilling as a tax form. But not this year. Because in late June, it named an artificial intelligence investment bust one of the top 3 threats to the global financial system. It called out circular financing directly. Deals so tangled and opaque that a single asset might be pledged as collateral several times. Nobody, not investors, not even regulators, can fully see the exposure. Then came the sentence that should make everyone sit up. A repricing of this risk, the bank warned, could hit global credit markets with a force comparable to 2008. Why credit markets? Because private lending to artificial intelligence companies exploded from $3 billion to well over $40 billion. And behind those lenders sit insurers and pension funds. If this unwinds, it's not just tech investors losing money, it's retirements. So the referee blew the whistle, and the game kept right on playing. What could actually pop this thing? Something surprisingly simple. Peerling, a competitor giving the product away for free. While American labs built walled gardens, the Chinese labs made the exact opposite bet. Release the models openly, let anyone download them, run them on their own machines, and modify them however they like, for free. For a while, that seemed like a consolation prize. Cheaper, sure, but clearly worse. Then the gap started closing, and closing fast, because by this summer, Chinese open models held all top 5 spots by usage on the biggest marketplace where developers pick models. They can cost 60 to 90% less to run. And real American companies quietly began routing their everyday work to them. And honestly, the logic is brutal. When a task doesn't need the smartest model on Earth, you simply use the cheapest capable one. A startup called Moonshot released Kimi K3, the largest open model ever built by anyone, anywhere. It shot straight to the top of the coding leaderboards, past America's flagship models at less than a third of the price. And markets recognized the plot instantly because they had seen this exact movie before, in January of 2025. That was DeepSeek, the model that erased almost $600 billion of NVIDIA's market value in a single trading day. This time, chips sold off worldwide. Taiwan dropped 6% in a day. The semiconductor index fell into bear market territory. So here's the brutal math. America's story says you need trillion-dollar infrastructure to stay ahead in artificial intelligence, for good. China's story says you get nearly the same result for a few percent of the cost. And on top of that, it's free. And if that second story is true, what exactly is $700 billion a year buying? Meanwhile, back on planet Earth, researchers now estimate that roughly 80% of corporate artificial intelligence projects fail to deliver any real, measurable business value at all. In fact, only about 1 in 5 big American companies can point to any measurable benefit from all that enormous spending. And the build-out itself is jamming. Up to half of the data centers planned this year now face delay or outright cancellation. And it's not for lack of money or chips. The power grid can't keep up, and communities are blocking projects worth billions. So picture the full board: circular demand, hidden debt, missing returns, stalled construction, and a rival giving the product away for free. Now, to be clear, that's not a prediction of a crash. Nobody can time this, but the system is being tested and strained. So watch July 27th closely. That's the day Kimi K3's full weights go completely free for anyone on Earth. And if it lives up to the benchmarks, one question remains: who is left holding the bag? Follow the money. Until next time.